Most organizations will tell you that their data is one of their most valuable assets. Almost none of them actually manage it that way. That gap between what data could be worth and what companies actually do with it is the entire reason the field of data management exists. And it is exactly where the CDMP exam begins. Welcome to the course. I am the Data Management Professor, and this is Lecture 1, built directly on Chapter 1 of the DMBOK2, the Data Management Body of Knowledge. By the end of this video, you will understand what data management actually is, why it is hard, the 11 principles that hold the whole discipline together, and the famous DAMA wheel that maps out everything the exam will test you on. Let us get into it. Here is the single most important sentence in the entire chapter. If you memorize one thing today, make it this. Data management is the development, execution, and supervision of plans, policies, programs, and practices that deliver, control, protect, and enhance the value of data and information assets throughout their life cycles. Read that again slowly because the exam loves it. Notice the 4 verbs in the middle: deliver, control, protect, and enhance. And notice the last phrase, throughout their life cycles. Data management is not a one-time project. It is ongoing supervision across the entire life of the data, and the people who do this work have a name too. A data management professional is anyone who works in any facet of data management to meet strategic organizational goals. That ranges from deeply technical roles like database administrators and programmers, all the way to strategic business roles like data stewards, data strategists, and the chief data officer. The point to hold on to is that data management is a shared responsibility between business and it. Neither side can do it alone. So why does any of this matter? The primary driver for data management is simple. It is to enable an organization to get value from its data assets, in exactly the same way that good management of financial and physical assets lets you get value from those. The DMBOK puts it bluntly. Failure to manage data is similar to failure to manage capital. It results in waste and lost opportunity. Organizations with reliable, high-quality data about their customers, products, and operations make better decisions than those working with unreliable data or no data at all. You have probably heard data called the new oil, or the lifeblood, or the currency of the modern economy. The DMBOK makes an even more basic point. Whether or not a company gets value from fancy analytics, it cannot even transact business without data. The chapter lists 6 goals that data management exists to achieve. These are worth knowing as a set, understanding and supporting the information needs of the enterprise and its stakeholders, capturing, storing, protecting, and ensuring the integrity of data assets, ensuring the quality of data and information, ensuring the privacy and confidentiality of stakeholder data, preventing unauthorized or inappropriate access, manipulation, or use of data. And finally, ensuring data can be used effectively to add value to the enterprise. Notice the balance there. Some goals are about protection and control. Others are about enabling use and creating value. Good data management is always holding those two in tension. Now let us get conceptual, because the exam tests definitions precisely. Long-standing definitions describe data as facts about the world. In the IT context, we also think of data as information stored in digital form, although the DMBOK is careful to note that data management principles apply to data on paper too, not just in databases. Here is the subtle idea the exam likes. Data is a means of representation. It stands for things other than itself. That means data is both an interpretation of the objects it represents and an object that itself must be interpreted. The consequence: data needs context to be meaningful, and the conventions that give data its context are documented in a special kind of data we call metadata. Hold that word. It comes back as a principle in a moment. People love to argue about the difference between data and information. You have probably seen the pyramid. Data at the bottom, then information, then knowledge, then wisdom at the top. The DMBOK actually pushes back on that pyramid. It points out that the model assumes data simply exists, when in reality data has to be created, and it takes knowledge to create data in the first place. The truth is that data and information are intertwined and depend on each other. Data is a form of information, and information is a form of data. For the exam, here is the practical takeaway. Drawing a line between the two can help teams communicate. A sales report is information. The warehouse records behind it are data, but both need to be managed, and both will be higher quality if they are managed together. In fact, throughout the DMBOK, the two terms are used interchangeably. An asset is an economic resource that can be owned or controlled and that produces value. Data clearly fits, but here is what makes data strange as an asset, and this is a favorite exam theme. Data is not consumed when it is used. A financial asset gets spent. A physical asset gets worn out or sits in one place. Data does none of that. The same data can be used by many people at the same time for many different purposes, and it does not get used up. It can even be stolen without being gone, because copying it leaves the original intact. This is why so many organizations now call themselves data-driven. Being data-driven means replacing gut feel with analytics, and recognizing that data has to be managed with professional discipline through a partnership of business leadership and technical expertise. Now we reach the heart of the chapter, the data management principles. The DMBOK groups them into 5 themes. If you learn the themes, the individual principles are far easier to recall under exam pressure. Let me walk the 5. 2 principles sit here. Data is an asset with unique properties. We just covered the big one. Unlike financial and physical assets, data is not consumed when it is used, and the value of data can and should be expressed in economic terms. Calling data an asset implies it has value, so organizations should develop consistent ways to quantify that value and to measure both the cost of poor quality data and the benefit of good quality data. 4 principles here, and the theme name is the key idea. Data management requirements are business requirements. Managing data means managing the quality of data. Ensuring data is fit for purpose is the primary goal. It takes metadata to manage data. To manage any asset, you need data about that asset. The data used to manage and use data is called metadata. Because you cannot physically touch data, metadata is how you know what it is and how to use it. It takes planning to manage data. Data is created in many places and moved between them, so coordinating it requires planning from an architectural and process perspective. And data management requirements must drive information technology decisions. Technology should serve your data needs, not the other way around. 3 principles. Data management is cross-functional. A single team cannot manage all of an organization's data. It needs both technical and non-technical skills and the ability to collaborate. Data management requires an enterprise perspective. It has local applications, but it is most effective applied across the whole enterprise. This is exactly why data management and data governance are so tightly intertwined. And data management must account for a range of perspectives. Data is fluid, so the practice must keep evolving with the ways data is created and used. The final group, data management, is lifecycle management. Data has a life cycle, and managing data means managing that life cycle. Different types of data have different life cycle characteristics, and therefore different management requirements. And managing data includes managing the risks associated with data. Data is an asset, but it is also a risk. It can be lost, stolen, or misused, and organizations must consider the ethical implications of how they use it. One more principle sits above all 5 themes like a roof. Effective data management requires leadership commitment. Without coordination, collaboration, and committed leadership, none of the rest holds together. That is all 11. 5 themes. Data is valuable, requirements are business requirements, diverse skills, life cycle management, and over-the-top leadership commitment. If the principles are the ideal, the challenges are the reality. The chapter spends a lot of time here because the properties of data that make it special also make it difficult to manage. Let me hit the three the exam cares about most. We touched this already, but here is the full picture. Data is not tangible. It is durable and does not wear out, although its value changes as it ages. It is easy to copy and move, but hard to reproduce if it is lost. It is not consumed when used, and the same data serves many people and many purposes at once. These properties make it genuinely hard to put a monetary value on data, which in turn makes it hard to measure how data contributes to success. Data is also a meta-asset. It is the means by which an organization knows itself, the asset that describes all the other assets. Value is the difference between the cost of a thing and the benefit you get from it. For a stock, that is easy arithmetic. For data, neither the costs nor the benefits are standardized. The DMBOK suggests starting with consistent cost and benefit categories, things like the cost of obtaining and storing data, the cost of replacing it if lost, the impact of it being missing, and what a competitor would pay for it. The core challenge to remember: the value of data is contextual. What matters to one organization may not matter to another, and it is often temporal. What was valuable yesterday may not be valuable today. This is the big one. Ensuring high-quality data is central to data management, because if you cannot rely on your data, then all the effort to collect, store, and secure it is wasted. Historically, because data was lumped in with it, quality was treated as an afterthought. You know the old programmer's phrase, garbage in, garbage out. But the people who actually use data cannot afford to be casual about quality, and here is the line worth remembering. Once users lose trust in data, it is very difficult to win it back, and poor quality data is expensive. Experts estimate organizations spend between 10 and 30% of revenue handling data quality issues. IBM estimated the cost of poor quality data in the United States in 2016 at $3.1 trillion. That number, 3.1 trillion, is one to keep in your back pocket for the exam. Briefly, because the chapter sets it up for later. A strategy is a set of choices that chart a high-level course of action toward high-level goals. A data strategy has to flow from the business strategy. What data the organization needs, how it will get it, how it will keep it reliable, and how it will use it. In many organizations, this strategy is owned by the Chief Data Officer and enacted through a data governance team supported by a data governance council. The three classic deliverables to remember are the Data Management Charter, the Data Management Scope Statement, and the Data Management Implementation Roadmap. Now the picture that ties the whole DMBOK together, and the one you should be able to draw from memory: the DAMA Wheel. The wheel places data governance at the very center. Why the center? Because governance is what provides consistency within and balance between all the other functions. Arranged around governance are the other knowledge areas, each a necessary part of a mature data management function. Around the hub of data governance, the wheel holds 10 more knowledge areas: data architecture, data modeling and design, data storage and operations, data security, data integration and interoperability, document and content management, reference and master data, data warehousing and business intelligence, metadata, and data quality. That is 11 knowledge areas in total, governance at the center plus 10 around it. These are the focus of chapters 3 through 13 of the DMBOK, and they are the backbone of the entire exam. Every future lecture in this course is going to take one wedge of this wheel and go deep. 2 more framework pieces to file away. The environmental factors hexagon shows the relationship between people, process, and technology, and it puts goals and principles right at the center. The knowledge area context diagram is built on a SIPOC structure: suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs, and consumers, and it is the template used to describe every knowledge area in the book. Each context diagram begins with the knowledge area's definition and goals. Let us lock it in. Data management is the development, execution, and supervision of plans and practices that deliver, control, protect, and enhance the value of data throughout its life cycle. It exists to get value from data as an asset with the unusual property that it is never consumed by use. It rests on 11 principles across 5 themes, topped by leadership commitment. It is hard because data is intangible, difficult to value, and expensive when quality slips. And the entire field is mapped by the DAMA Wheel, with data governance at the center and 10 knowledge areas around it. That is Chapter 1. Master this and you have the scaffolding that every other topic hangs on. If this helped, subscribe so you catch the next lecture where we move into the first wedge of the wheel. And if you want to test yourself right now, grab the free 15-question CDMP sampler linked below. It is the fastest way to find out what you actually know. I will see you in the next one.